You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Well, hello, America. This is the Jenn and Rick Show. I'm one half of the crew, Rick. She's the other half, Jen, and we're coming back after a kind of a long Thanksgiving break for the both of us. Sadly, I have been having the unmotivated, so I actually just did a live show again yesterday. We're back in the saddle here, and I'm going to keep going. If I sound a little different than usual, it's because I'm still trying to climb back on the bike, so to speak, because I really don't take much time off, and after having a couple of days of not having to do anything, I'm having to fight the lazy monster. So how was everybody's Thanksgiving? Did you have fun? Did you eat lots of turkey? Did you have any annoying family members? I had a few. We talked about that on Friday's Finding Common Ground show. All right, so welcome back, Miss Jen. It's been a bit of a longer break for you because we wound up not doing a show on Thursday, so the last time you and I were together was on Tuesday. So how was your Thanksgiving?
Mine was pretty good. And like I was telling you off air, after all the turkey was eaten and the wine drank and the, random family stories and hugs and everything else that went on, which mine was really very nice. The group the part of my family that I was all with this year, we all tend to have less drama. And I'm going to say that now at Christmas, we're going to have all the drama. But we tend to just have a good time, and we mostly agree politically. And so there's not a whole lot of tension there. And then the next day, I went and saw my Longhorns lose to TCU and seemed to not put up too much of a fight in that game. And so Mr. Charlie Strong got fired, and I got to watch the drama as that all went down. I'm such a nerd. I'm on all the boards, like all the sports forums, and I do Longhorn Sports Twitter. So sometimes when people that follow me for politics, they're like, what is going on? Because I'll just be tweeting incessantly about Texas football or about college football. So watching all that drama fall down and all the rumors run around, and then suddenly we have a new coach. So it's exciting and fun. And that was probably the highlight of my weekend.
So, yeah, I mean, from our perspective up here in Oklahoma, all of that was confusing because, of course, everybody was starting the rumor mill that the Texas coach was going to get fired. And then somebody from the university came out and said, no, not getting fired. And then within like 2 days, dude was fired. But, yeah, I mean, You can't lose to the team that you guys lost to and expect to be able to keep your job.
Yeah. So yeah. And I think even beyond that, I actually think there was enough support for Coach Strong as a person because he has an impeccable reputation for just being such a wonderful man, role model, mentor, and teacher. The results were not there on the football field as far as, head coach of one of the premier programs in the country in a Power 5 conference. There are about 10 programs that are going to have immense pressure. And no matter what kind of rebuilding or what else is going on, you're going to be expected to not only make a bowl game, but at least win 8, 9, and then very shortly 10, 11, and national championships. So that just wasn't happening. But I think that it was confusing because the loss to Kansas was terrible. The immediate knee-jerk was fire him. And then after that, people kind of felt bad, I think, felt sorry for him. And everybody does like him. Like, he is well-liked and respected. So I think people were like, whoa, pump the brakes. And if we had beaten TCU the day after Thanksgiving, he might have saved his job for a year. But I think that may have actually been the case. But lost to TCU, and it seemed like the team kind of didn't really put up a fight. So, everyone always says things like, oh, but he's so great and blah, 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 and he's the best coach I've ever had. And, you can't do this to him. Well, you should have done it on the field, and you didn't. So it's the way the game goes. And so then they did. They fired him right after the game, and we had a new coach within 24 hours. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, fun times. The interesting thing about that is, though, you watch what happened with the whole Texas football thing, and it's an interesting parallel for the craziness that's been going on post-election. Because
I was going to say that. I was going to say, especially like with rumored appointments and with like all of these different things, and everyone's like trying to. You've got the different camps that are under. Whether it's because they're actually like still in negotiation or whether they're not free to say yet. So they've got to come out and say something because the media is pressing. I mean, it's all kind of crazy. Now, Herman, our new coach, Tom Herman, his players did say that his players, because he played a game with Houston on Saturday and then was hired as our coach on Sunday morning. So his players did say that he was not dishonest with them, that he told them that he was talking to 2 schools about their head coaching positions. Now, he didn't say it was Texas and LSU, but obviously people knew who it was. So I do appreciate that he did not lie to his players. But it is funny how, like, the media, just in another realm, in the sports realm, they're all buzzing around. They're putting out tweets. They're putting out all these, someone knows someone's grandma's dog's vet, that this is what's going to happen. And doggone it, that's got to be it. And then it's all wrong. So very similar to kind of what we've experienced with all of the election stuff.
Sorry, I actually forgot I was muted there. I'm all talking to myself going, why can't I hear myself in my headset? Oh, it's because I had the mute button pressed because I was trying not to cough on the air. See, remember, that's what happens when you take a break. You forget what half the buttons around here do. So anyway, it's just I don't know. This whole thing is just crazy because, does anybody remember, like, pre-election when Hillary Clinton was all like, if Donald Trump doesn't recognize the election results, that'll be un-American. And now her side is the one screaming for a recount. And it's not like we even have much room to stand up and say, well, maybe we shouldn't do a recount, because now even he's saying maybe we should do a recount. I'm so confused.
My gosh.
Do we do a recount? Do we not do a recount? Do we respect the results? Do we have anarchy? Do we do away with the Electoral College? Because depending on who you listen to, everybody wants a little bit of everything.
Honestly, from an objective and trying to be like, I really try to be an honest, fair, and objective person. From an objective standpoint, I really don't mind the recount. That really doesn't bother me all that much, because if there were some areas that were really close and it had gone the other way, we would all be wondering. We would be saying, did they get this right? Is this too close to call? Should we maybe see what's happening there? We on the right know full well how, or we have pretty much accepted that there is fraud that goes on. We've had people do exposés on it. There have been tapes, and they just deny, and the mainstream media doesn't cover it. But so if it's happening the other way too, then we should try to figure that out. I don't know. They've spent years telling us there's no such thing. There's no way it can happen. And now they want to believe it can happen because they don't like the results of the elections. But so goes a leftist. But I don't really have a problem as long as it's not, I like the idea of them having to raise the money or to spend their own money to do it. I don't like taxpayer funds going towards that unless there was an investigation conclusion that something was severely off, and then maybe that should be the government's responsibility. Otherwise, no.
And I think that's my issue with the recount. It's not necessarily the actions itself. It's the fact that even Hillary's own advisors at this point are saying that it would be a waste of time and money, and we're not talking a small expense. So, I mean, I don't understand the logic behind it. I don't understand, especially at this point with Jill Stein coming out and saying, well, maybe your recount's not a bad idea. Look, lady, any votes that you took weren't coming from Donald Trump. So if you're trying to assuage your guilt because, if you add up the number of votes that you got, in certain states, that might have swung things in another direction. Who knows? But again, we're not dealing with the popular vote. And that's another thing that drives me crazy, because the only reason they're screaming for the recount is because of the fact that there is apparently, in their estimation, a very wide swing between the Electoral College results and the popular vote results. I have a problem with that because, of course, there's a very wide swing in the popular vote results when we're talking about the two biggest states in the country both swinging very widely blue. So it's no surprise that there's a very large margin between the popular vote and the Electoral College vote, especially when turnout was low on both sides. I mean, if you look at the numbers, we had low turnout everywhere. Nobody got excited about any of the candidates that were on the ballot. So to look at this and go, well, because she won the popular vote, obviously something's rigged. That's not necessarily true. And my biggest issue isn't, again, necessarily the recount. If you guys want to recount, fine. Recount until you're blue in the face. But your team pays for it, not us. Because I don't want to pay for a recount. Even though I didn't like the results, I'm willing to stand by them. Even though I didn't like either one of the choices that we had at this point, this is who we're stuck with. So if they want to recount so bad, fine. They find a way to raise the money. I don't care. Start a freaking GoFundMe. With all these people that are saying they need a recount, let them give $1.
Yep. I absolutely agree. And then I do like where Jill Stein said she couldn't guarantee that the money raised for a recount would go towards the actual recount. And then people got so pissed off. And I saw people saying, like, I want my money back. How can you even say this? And, basically it's because you're still funneling it into a campaign fund for which she still owes debts. So it's not all going to, and as we all know, even though they like to not think of it this way, all money is fungible. So you can't dictate where it's going if you're donating it to someone like her.
No, exactly. And that's the thing that I find so crazy is, she's like, well, you can donate and maybe we'll get this thing done, but I can't guarantee that the money that you're giving is actually going to go to the recount because I have all these bills over here piled in this corner and you're actually helping me pay them.
Right.
Isn't that the same thing that the left was going crazy about with Donald Trump? And look, I'm not excusing some of the things that Donald Trump has done while he was involved in campaign mode, because I don't like some of the things that he did with those funds and other things that have come to light that he's done through his slush funds. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the foundations. So, I mean, I understand that, but I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I'm tired of one side screaming foul while they're doing the exact same thing. If you're going to cry foul about something, please make sure you're not also basically doing the same thing. I'm so tired of that from everywhere. All I want is people to call things down the middle as much as possible. If you think it's wrong to take money and use it for thing A, and you would prefer that money be used for thing B, then when the other side of the aisle who's been screaming at you for using money for thing A instead of thing B suddenly comes out and starts using money for thing B instead of using it for thing A, which they advocated for, I have a problem with that. And we're seeing all of that starting to go on now. While we've been talking about racism and fires and incidents and rioting and whatever else has been going on, the Republican Congress has been up to sneaky, dirty trickiness already. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all of it. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I'm tired of the talking out of both sides of the mouth. All I want is for whichever side is in power to actually do what they said they were going to do, which was represent us. But the problem is we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And we've talked about this on every show that we've done for quite some time, and that is we all think Congress sucks, except for our personal representatives. So we keep sending the same people back into the mix and expecting different results, and nothing is ever going to change because all these people are doing is making sure that they hang on to their power. Donald Trump was the distraction to keep us from noticing the fact that we basically just did exactly what we said we weren't going to do and sent everybody right back into the mix. And now Mr. I'm Not Establishment is, instead of draining the swamp, pouring it all right back into his cabinet. Fun times.
Yeah. Also, it's kind of hard to keep up with the appointments. I haven't really been able to find a site that consolidates them or like a running list, but that does remind me of several things that happened today. Number one, The Hill put out this it was changed within about 5 minutes. I put it in a group and was like, what? That's not even what he says. Basically, they said that Trump was going to push to have Sessions confirmed as AG before the inauguration. And that's what the headline said. And then in the article, they kept kind of alluding to that, even though the only talk or quotes by actual Trump representatives or spokespeople and Trump himself were about possibly starting confirmation hearings the same way Obama did with Holder and was done with Ashcroft. So those started, in the weeks before his inauguration, not confirmed before Christmas. And then they weren't confirmed, obviously, until they could be officially nominated once he was president and could be confirmed then. They changed it pretty quickly, finally, to saying, confirmation before inauguration. They would just be about the hearings that he wanted before that. But they were trying to put it in a way that kind of inflamed, and people picked up on it. The AP picked up on it. And all of a sudden, there are all these tweets saying Trump wants to confirm Sessions before inauguration. And people leftists are losing their minds. Thankfully, it was corrected pretty quickly, so it died pretty fast. And all those places either deleted tweets or changed their headline. But that kind of talking about, we were talking about with the football stuff and everything. I mean, some of this stuff is just like running amok. The rumors and the inflammatory headlines and leads used by the press that aren't even there. Things aren't even there. And, to me, I at first was like, oh, crap. Because let's be honest, that's not that far-fetched that someone who was a loyal Trumper would put out there that let's just go ahead and confirm someone before he's even president. He might as well be president. He's president-elect. Let's just let him do it. That's not beyond the scope of things that would be suggested. Far crazier has been put forth under this, possible administration. So, but it's just getting kind of crazy. Now you have Romney having dinner with Trump tonight. He appointed Elaine Chao Transportation Secretary, Tom Price, possibly. I think he actually officially announced him. Did you hear that?
Actually, I hadn't heard anything official about Price. I
think
heard about
I
Chao,
need to look. I think he officially announced Tom Price, which in my book is pretty good. He was a stalwart against the Affordable Care Act and had really solid reasoning and data to back himself up. And then we've got Commerce and Treasury Secretary, where you sent me some stuff about some of the things going on with that. A little bit like we were just saying, of bringing in pieces of that swamp that he's supposedly against.
Yeah, it looks like a cursory Google search has uncovered Tom Price, potential HHS nominee, drafted remake of healthcare law. So it looks like he's already kind of been working on some things, at least according to some video footage that I'm looking at right here, but I haven't actually clicked on the link because it'll start talking and then we won't be able to hear each other. But it looks like he is at least being considered. I think the interesting thing about a lot of this, though, outside of Price, I actually think that's a pretty good choice. Some of these people that he's appointing are kind of the exact opposite of what I expected, because, wasn't he supposed to be the incoming outsider with the vim and vigor and was supposed to be making all these sweeping changes, and now he's putting a lot of establishment types right in the middle of his cabinet? If I was an alt-right supporter right now, or one of his more, let's burn everything down supporters, I think I'd probably be a little concerned right now, because it seems to me that he keeps sliding further and further establishment when that's kind of what we told everybody he was probably going to do.
Right. And I think, and don't get me wrong, I think that Romney is an excellent choice for Secretary of State, and I kind of hope that he confirms him. I also kind of hope, would wish that Romney would just give him the finger and walk out. But that's just more because of how, nasty he was about everybody and everything during this campaign, including, Cruz and Rubio and then people that weren't even his opponents like Romney. So, but I think he's a great choice. But I mean, who knows? Romney is like the epitome to these people of the establishment. I've seen so many, diehard Trump supporters, putting stuff out there about just reel him in to just step on him, because that's the only way we'd be doing this. That's the only way Trump would be doing this, is as a joke and to just finish him off, dropping F-bombs and religious slurs and all sorts of stuff. It's just nasty. But I just want to quote tweet every single one of them, or write on every single one of their Facebook walls, or whoever's commenting, and say, told ya. This isn't a joke. He's not joking. He's already appointed people that are part of that are, just completely establishment. He's not kidding. He has to. There was no way he could survive this. He could put together this administration and survive a presidency and even get a whiff of a second term, if this does not end disastrously, without incorporating a good chunk of establishment. And I mean, he already did it beforehand anyways. Newt Gingrich is as establishment as they get. Chris Christie is super establishment. He was already surrounding himself with these types, and they just bought the line that he was anti-establishment. He doesn't even know what that means. They don't even know what it means.
No, exactly. And it's one of the things that we've been trying to get people's attention about for this entire cycle, because everybody bought. I mean, the thing about it is, and what I really, really I actually kind of enjoyed where the people that the first thing that they would do when I realized I wasn't a Trump supporter is they're like, Rick, did you bother to read his book, Rick? Do you know what you're even talking about? If you bothered to read his book, which, by the way, in case you still haven't figured this out yet, he actually wasn't the one that wrote. It was written by a ghostwriter. Not that I have a problem with that, because I know several people that have been published after using a ghostwriter. But the thing with that is, if you actually paid attention to what was said in the book, he was doing the exact same thing all the way through the campaign trail that he was talking about in the book. He was basically, and when I knew we were in trouble, and when I realized nobody was catching on, and I've said this before, I think it was a CNN interview. There was something that I read an excerpt, and then I saw the video, and he's sitting there and he's talking to a reporter, and he's like, "We have these great rallies with these huge crowds, but every once in a while I can see them starting to slip away and not listening to the things that I'm saying. And all I have to do is shout, 'We're going to build the wall!' And I've got them all right back and chanting and yelling my name and telling me how great everything is going to be." And that's when I knew we were in trouble, because all he was doing was selling a bill of goods and doing everything he could to hold on to people's attention long enough to have them remember his name when they went into the voting booth. And that's what he did. That's what he sold us. A bill of goods. He's not going to live up to most of what he said, and he's definitely not going to be the anti-establishment guy, because at this point, now that he has the office, he's going to want to try to keep it, because in some ways, I still don't think he was honestly expecting to get here. But now that he's here, he's realizing what he can do. There are all of these things that have come out since the election that are completely terrifying if you take the time to look at them. Like his children being involved in meetings that involve other countries and their decisions in regards to other countries. And they're actually having input with these people about what they should do in places like Syria. There's the fact that before his election, he met with people in Scotland and was talking to them about how windmills next to a golf course that he's got there are a really, really bad idea. These are things that should terrify every single person. And then today he comes out and says that he is opposed to people burning the flag. Great, Donald, that's awesome. I don't like people burning the flag either. But then he finishes the sentence by saying there should be harsh penalties, maybe even revocation of citizenship. Now, this is the same person that said that we should make it a federal crime and death penalty possible for anyone who kills a police officer that is serving in the line of duty. Now, that is a really great knee-jerk reaction that's going to make a lot of patriotic people feel really good for about 5 seconds until they stop and think and go, but wait, not all states recognize the death penalty as legal. So that just trampled all over the 10th Amendment. Now he's talking about trampling all over the First Amendment, and this isn't the first time that he said this. And these are the things that people should be paying attention to. They should be looking at the appointments, because the appointments tell you the type of administration that he's going to have, and it's going to be a continuation of a lot of the more of the same, which is what we've told everybody we were going to get if they voted for him, and they did it anyway. And now we see all of these different really scary things if you start stringing them together, and it's just a terrifying glimpse at what a Trump administration might actually be. And it makes me think that, we used to joke about winding up in FEMA camps. I'm not so sure if we should be joking about that anymore. I'm really not. Just saying.
Yeah, I think I can say more about this later, but I actually in college, in my constitutional law 1 class, we had a term paper assignment to write arguing for or against a flag burning ban amendment. And everybody was writing against. So I chose to write for, mostly because I already prickled my my liberal professor enough because I was a conservative student. And also because when I talked to him, he knew I did not agree constitutionally with a ban on flag burning as an amendment. So figuring out how to support that constitutionally and write it in some way that, and that could be seen as constitutional, in other words, was a huge challenge, was really hard. And he ended up giving me an A+ for it. And I was the only one in my section that did out of 180 students. So I ended up getting a really good grade on, which I think it's really funny that this is happening now, because I can very well argue for why we would be justified in doing so. And it has a lot to do with expression versus speech, what goes too far, what is incitement, all of that kind of thing. And under various states' legal definitions, it actually does fall under incitement legally. But I don't think that that is anywhere close to what is intended. I think it is intended as free speech. I think it is the very thing that we should be protecting the most. So this just tweet that he puts out, it was so irresponsible. You're not running for president. You're not just running for president. You're not just commentating on our political sphere. Like, you are the president-elect of the United States. And talking about stripping citizenship, which, by the way, the Constitution also ruled against, the only way someone can be stripped of their citizenship is if they voluntarily give it up. So all of it, I rolled my eyes and went, one more thing, one more time. Here we go.
And the thing about it is, I don't doubt that there would be a way to actually make that some sort of a constitutional thing where we could make it. I mean, there's already like laws against harming the bald eagle because it's a symbol of the country. So I mean, I know there would be a way to get it done. I'm just not sure if that's a line we ever actually want to cross, just to be completely honest. And I understand that there would be ethical ways to get it done.
I think it's a line that could have been crossed in that could have been crossed responsibly, like say in the 50s or 60s. No way now. It will open up much too much of a can of worms. And with all of the access people have to 24-hour news, to every event that they don't like, every politician they don't like, all of the things going on in the country that they can access, whether physically or digitally, I think it's just really dangerous.
No, I mean, and I don't know. And like I said, the biggest thing for me isn't necessarily that, hey, if you want to do something to make that, you know, maybe punishable in some way, if you feel like somebody crosses a line or takes it too far, maybe that's something that we could at least seriously look at and put back on the table. But to spout off that we should ban people from the country for burning the flag, I mean, come on. I mean,
like I said, it's just so irresponsible.
I mean, and we're talking about at this point, it's not like this is Mr. Reality TV star anymore. This is President-elect Donald Trump threatening to ban people for burning the flag. I never in a million years thought that somebody that's supposed to be on my side of the argument would be saying the things that this guy has said over and over and over again. And it's why, even though I'm still in wait-and-see mode and benefit of the doubt mode, I have to say that bubble is shrinking. Every single day it shrinks just a little more because I see something else that he says, something else that he does, another appointment that he makes or is at least considering trying to make. Because let's face it, we have control of Congress. They're not stopping any of his appointments. They're not going to. They won't have the backbone to stand up to a Republican president. That's part of the reason why I was concerned about this to begin with, because I don't think no matter how far he goes, how far afield he winds up going, I don't think they'll stand up against him. They could barely, in a lot of ways, stand up against Obama even when they had majority. They were able to put the brakes on a lot of things, but there were a lot of things that slid under that nobody was paying attention to. And it's all starting again, and this time we're the ones with the reins, and they're still doing shady crap. I mean, one of my senators here just put out a paper about billions and billions and billions of dollars of waste. He took over a project for the senator that stepped down here that he actually assumed the seat for. James Lankford just won his first official full term as a senator in Oklahoma. So he took over the Waste and Abuse Project. He's now calling it the 40 fumbles or something along those lines of the federal budget. One of them was like $500,000 to study. What was the term they used? I'm trying to think of the exact term, but anyway, it was like the Dark Ages. They were studying the aroma of the Dark Ages, and it was like $500,000. What do you need to study about the smell in the Dark Ages that cost $500,000? These are the things that are still going on in our government, and we can't seem to figure out how to make sure that vets have proper medical care without them waiting in long lines and dying from not being able to get the care they need. But we can spend $500,000 to talk about what it may or may not have smelled like in the Dark Ages. What the hell?
Oh, it's so absurd. That is just so absurd.
And
But,
honestly,
I mean, there's stuff
honestly,
like that.
The dollar amount may be a little off because I don't have the article in front of me, but I know that was one of the things that he was talking about that money was spent on, and it was an absurd amount of money. And there were some others that I can't think of right now. I actually plan on having that pulled up because it's going to be some of what we talk about on the Off the Rails show here in a second, because it's just some of the things that I heard about on the radio the other day from them talking about it, and I'm just like, this is insane. We're spending money for things like this. I mean, dude, you could like fart in a jar and give me $500,000. I can tell you exactly what the Dark Ages would have smelled like. That would have been it. Here. Where's my $500,000? You know what I could do with $500,000? And you basically gave it to somebody who probably farted in a jar.
Oh my gosh. It's just insane. It's just so crazy. And the links they'll go to for this kind of thing, I don't understand it. I don't know why it's allowed.
I don't understand it either. Oh, man. All right, so I just realized that we've been talking and bantering back and forth so much that I completely blew through the brakes, so we got to take it back. All right, this is Jenn and Rick. We will be right back. And for those of you hanging out in the chat, get in here and say hello to Ron. He's actually hanging out in here with us. I know it's late, but come on, there's a chat room. Get in there. It'll be all right. We don't bite, I promise. Maybe.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
Is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is Jenn and Rick coming to you live on KLRNradio.com. See, I've been so out of the habit, I don't think I've even mentioned the station's name once tonight. Want to give a quick shout-out to a friend of ours hanging out in the chat. You may know him as, well, we call him, well, everybody else calls him the Naked One. I just call him Ron. Good evening, Ron. How are you? Thanks for hanging out with us in the chat room. Always a pleasure to see you. For those of you who may not be aware, when we are live, we do have a chat room on the website, and it's at klrnradio.com/chat. You are welcome to come in there and hang out. You may want to shoot a message over on Spreaker, though, because every once in a while, my system can't really handle having so many windows open at a time. So if you happen to be in the chat and you don't notice us in there and we're live, go over to the Spreaker panel, click on the link there. You can shoot us a message. We'll hop in the chat. We'll hang out. It'll be fun. But anyway, so we have been talking all kinds of things tonight. One of the biggest things that we've been talking about is the fact that the left and the extreme right, or the alt-right as we like to call them now, are kind of having their own versions of meltdowns because they're watching their anointed one, Hillary Clinton, basically missed the mark. So now they're doing everything they can to drag her back across the finish line, even though she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. Even so much so that, if memory serves, you had actually mentioned that someone was actually jumping on board the bandwagon to ban the Electoral College, but I can't remember the name that you mentioned before the show.
Yes, our wonderful America's mayor, Mr. Bill de Blasio. He is now also basically saying that the Electoral College is antiquated and obviously doesn't work anymore, blah, blah. I'll just read his quote real quick. He said, "Obviously, we have a profound problem. We've never seen such a disconnect between the popular vote and the Electoral College vote in the history of this entire country. And this morning, I checked the numbers again, and Hillary Clinton's up by 2.3 million votes. This is absolutely unprecedented, and I think it creates a huge question for our democracy. How is the president-elect going to proceed knowing that he had 2.3 million more people vote for his opponent?" Then when asked if it was time to get rid of the Electoral College, he said yes. Well, first of all, big glaring error there in his how he categorized our country. What was that, Rick?
He called us a democracy. Last time I checked, we're actually a representative republic. Just saying.
Right. We are not a democracy, nor were we ever intended to be a democracy, because our founders specifically did not want majority rule democracy. They knew that that would not be representative of the entire electorate. That's why they put the Electoral College in place. It forces these people to run national campaigns, to form coalitions, incorporate a variety of issues in their platforms that do, span from things that affect people in quote unquote flyover country and then also other issues that affect people on the coast. And the other thing is it's supposed to do, which is kind of funny this year, is it is supposed to kind of temper a candidate. It's supposed to temper the parties from choosing somebody, from someone that is incredibly extreme, from being able to run because, or not even just run, but being able to win because they would, it would spread over more of the country. Now, their fear was more of something like what we have had with the liberal ruling class of elite, which is why they got their butts handed to them in this election, because it's not just the coasts that matter. And they found that out and got shooken up big time. But this is not the first time for this argument to come up, and it surely won't be the last. And I would just love for them to even try. I mean, they only have a few states left that are not majority Republican ruled. There's only, we could just make our majorities in the House and the Senate even greater than they are. And we can keep winning the presidency if they want to try to put stuff like this on the table as legitimate and keep pushing it forward. And they have no leg to stand on because there's no way that they can get 2/3 of Congress and 75% of the states. So I think it'd be hilarious. Let them try. Let them go with it.
And here's the thing that I guess I really don't understand, because, look, so you want us to be a democracy. You want us to be led by mob rule. I don't think they realize what it is that they're asking for, because in case they haven't figured it out, these are the same people that honestly, and this is another reason that I think the left lost a lot of wiggle room with the American public this time. Their thin veneer of actually trying to pretend they care about the American people and actually think that they're intelligent really slipped a lot this year. And I'm not saying Donald Trump did a much better job of that overall, but the fact that we started seeing all of these things with all of these people saying all of these terrible things about Americans, and then everybody's like, and you want me to vote for these people? That was the biggest blowback that I got when I started telling everybody the reasons I wasn't going to vote for Donald Trump is because we have this mindset that our elections are binary. So in their minds, as soon as I said I wasn't voting for Trump, the only thing they could see was Hillary in the White House. They're like, you're telling me that you're willing to not vote for a man because of some things that he said, when you're willing to let the things slide, not only that she's said, but that she's done. And that's what I kept trying to tell them. No, I'm not trying to let either one of them slide. That's why I'm not going to vote for either one of them, because
I think we underestimated. I think we really underestimated. And we talked about this. We talked about this some on our show, and we also talked about it election night. Leslie and I were both saying it. But I think overall, just like the media underestimated, I think even the right underestimated how many people that didn't care for Hillary Clinton and did not like Donald Trump, but are not so politically principled and invested emotionally, and it's just not everything in their character and core about who they vote for. It's like it's a vote, it's important, but you know what? I'm sick of the left, and I'm sick of how they make everything racist and how they make everything sexist, and how I'm being told that there's 3,800 different genders when I have a boy and a girl, and that there are going to be certain things forced upon me that are just social justice reforms, and they don't go through the right avenues. They are just slapped on them, and they have no say. There is no way to blow back. And so this was their way to do it. And they just said, I don't even like him, but screw it. At least he's telling them where to stick it. And I can't let this party keep doing this to me and to my family and to my, my community, telling me how we have to, build our buildings so that the bathrooms are okay for how we say it is this year. What's it going to be like next year, and how much is that going to cost?
No, and again, I think a lot of that is you're exactly right, because under this administration, the left has gone into overdrive with this whole, gender being fluid, people should be able to use the bathroom of the gender that they feel that they are, not necessarily the gender that they are. These are the same people that are telling us that science matters, but apparently it doesn't matter when it comes to your gender.
Right. Science matters when they want it to. And even then it still really doesn't, because it's only whichever science they want to pick and what they want to mislabel something as science. A lot of times or what they want to mislabel is settled, actually, when it's still usually pretty much in the, hypothesis stage. But I find like one of the main arguments people keep throwing around is this one that is perpetuated a lot, and we are kind of taught it a little bit in history, is that one of the main reasons for the Electoral College was so that the South could keep slavery and yada, yada, yada. Do you know who wrote Federalist Papers 68? That it completely lays out what it would do and how and why it was so incredibly necessary and pertinent to our new nation was Alexander Hamilton, who was a lifelong abolitionist, who then his wife carried on his work as an abolitionist, and then as and then heading into she lived another 50 years after he died. So she was actually saw a lot more, and she saw where people were starting to act. There was a lot more of freedom, and then we're heading into the Civil War era. But that is so absurd to think that he would completely come up with, endorse, and really promote and defend a system that sole purpose was to allow the southern states to get the votes for slavery. There is a part of that it was used that way, but that was not the intent of the Electoral College. And I'm really sick of seeing that, kind of mistold out there, with people just buying it and retweeting it and writing articles on it that are getting shared as if it's just fact. And unfortunately, that's just another failing of our education system and of the rewriting of history so that it fits in the little box that, left America wants it to.
I don't know. I mean, you're watching the news feed, and there's been another little interesting thing that I wanted to talk about on the way out, because of the incident at Ohio State that the media jumped all over, and of course, in the initial accounts, it was a white guy with a gun. Even the vice presidential pick for Hillary Clinton was all over Twitter talking about what caliber of gun was it, who was it. And it turns out it wasn't even a gun at all. Turns out it was a Somali refugee who actually became a permanent citizen, who actually used a vehicle, drove into a group of people, ran them over, then hopped out of his car and started stabbing people with a butcher knife. But the media, because of this inherent need for everything to be about the right extremists, for everything to be about them, the first thing that they thought and the first thing that they ran with was it was another white guy with another gun, and oh my God, what are we going to do? And now, to top it all off, even though CNN is still scratching their heads and saying, well, maybe we'll know what his actual motives were sometime by maybe January of 2020, ISIS just came out and accepted responsibility for that act. But yet, we're still going, Are we sure it wasn't a white guy?
Yeah, and that was the other thing I saw a lot of then, even when it was, okay, it's not a white guy, then it was like, oh, well, now it's a white police officer that shot him down, and why did they have to kill him? I saw a whole bunch of that. I'm like, we can't win. I mean, he mowed people down and went on a stabbing spree. First, you want to use it as a gun control referendum, and now you want to make it a race issue. Are you kidding me? Anything to distract and to try to steer it away from radical Islam and the very real problem that's facing us that they keep trying to pretend is not real, not on American soil, and not what they say it is. They say it when they commit these acts of terror. Why are we not believing them? It is actually insane to me that we are still having to play footsie about all of this.
No, and I completely agree, and it's insane to me, and I understand that if you go back and you listen to some of the audio footage from radio reports, etc., there were reports that the individual possibly might have had a gun. I guess that was maybe some confusion about the fact that it was actually the campus cop that shot him. But I mean, the thing about that is, and we go back to this all the time, I understand that the initial reports are sometimes misleading, especially when, when things happen in split seconds and all you're going off of is initial reports, then you're going to get the story wrong. But that's exactly why we shouldn't keep feeding this perpetual beast called the 24/7 news cycle. There is no longer a desire to be right. There is now a desire to be first and damn the consequences. And that is a lot of what has caused so many issues that the American people finally decided they'd had enough of on this election cycle. I mean, and it's happening on both sides. I mean, because you have the bigger groups that are like, oh my God, we have to be first with this story. If nothing else, we can pin a retraction later, so just run with whatever you've been able to find. And now we have groups like Facebook and Twitter that are banding together and determining what are supposedly, quote-unquote, fake news sites. For God's sake, apparently even The Blaze made the list of fake news sites. They're probably the most down-the-center news site we currently have because they weren't pro-Hillary or pro-Trump. And yet they're fake news. I don't understand.
Yeah, the fake news thing, it's such a... The litmus test for it is, there is no real true litmus test for it. All the rules are arbitrary. They're not going... And it's just disgraceful. I mean, Red State was on it. I just, I think it's wrong that because there are places that have commentary to call them fake news. If you have a place like Salon or Slate where they are running things as fact on a regular basis, like Hands Up, Don't Shoot, like there's just any number of things in there, like the UVA, rape case thing, hoax. They are consistently doing this, refusing to back down and putting false information out there. That's why they're a fake news site, because they run commentary and opinion pieces that are, extremely biased because they are that person's opinion. That does not make it a fake news site. It doesn't even actually make it news. That's a section of their site. So it's just so obnoxious. But, of course, those others, like I said, those others that I used as examples didn't make the fake news list, mostly conservative sites. So, par for the course.
Well, it is what it is. Of course, conservative news is going to be fake because who the heck actually wants to be a conservative? If you're not pro-left all the time, you're going to be fake regardless of what anybody says. So you might as well just get ready for it now.
Which is just what makes Trump winning this election that much sweeter. I can't stand the guy, didn't vote for him. But, I am just lapping up the deliciousness of all of their meltdowns and how incredibly out of touch they still are. They've doubled down on almost everything. And it's just so funny. I love it. Great. Make a fake news list. See how much that helps you win another one.
Yeah. So back to just as a bit of a tease on the way out the door, because we're going to actually be going into this a little bit more on the America Off the Rails show. But remember I was talking about that federal fumbles list that Senator James Lankford put together? The very first one at the top of the list was, hang on, where'd it go? A $43 million gas station.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little bit of like the Austin Downtown Public Library on one of the most wanted and expensive pieces of land in Austin overlooking the river that they allocated like $15 million, I think it was initially, to build this public library that already nobody was using to make it a state-of-the-art library. And then they added another $5 million last year, and now they're telling us, and it was supposed to be done this fall, now they're telling us they need another $6.
So I guess the interesting thing about this, because I actually hadn't looked at anything more than a synopsis of the report, but if you actually download the report, there's actually quite a bit of detail here. It talks about a $43 million gas station, then it gives quick stats, and since he's calling it the federal fumbles, it's actually kind of mimicking football. So it's like conference, spending, team, Department of Defense, fumble, $42,718,739 for a gas station in, take a guess, just one guess.
Where it's supposed to be?
Yeah, where's it at?
What, D.C.?
Afghanistan. We
good grief.
We paid $43 million for a gas station in Afghanistan. How do we recover the ball? Require DOD to submit reports on all completed facility construction at the 1, 3, and 5 year marks to certify that the facility's use is compared to the original construction justification. So on the way out the door, folks, remember, we will actually be right back here in just a couple minutes. We may take about a 5-minute break for me to get prepped before we actually launch America Off the Rails, but we'll be back with that in a couple of minutes. We're actually going to go into a lot more detail with this report called Federal Fumbles, and just in case you can't tune in now, make sure you check it out later. But as a reminder, $43 million for a gas station in Afghanistan. The next time the government tells you they can't afford to do something, print this out and shove it in their face. I'm just saying. Do you have anything you want to say on the way out the door? Because I literally am about to start laughing my butt off here.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to definitely listen. That is so insane.
All right, folks, this has been the Jenn and Rick Show. I'll be back with you here in just a couple minutes as soon as we get things queued up for the America Off the Rails show. And again, if you miss it now, just make sure you check it out at another time. You can listen to it streaming over at Lanterns Radio, AMFM247.com, Red Nation Rising Radio, and of course, multiple podcast sites. Most of the places this one is at as well, which are Stitcher, SoundCloud, FM Player, iTunes. This one is not on iHeart yet. We're pending though, so say some prayers. We're working on it, but we got to get out of here, folks. You guys have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you here in just a few minutes for America Off the Rails. Take care. God bless.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom...